Hi, I'm Lenore. I'm a singer and a voice teacher. I help people with the vocal journey. I do that through private lessons and online courses, so if you're interested in any of that, you can check it out below. You know what happens when you have kids? You watch Sesame Street all day. Luckily, Sesame Street has good songs to it, and my son is into the songs. That makes it a little bit nicer for me. And also, as a vocal coach, I cannot help but noticing some voices on Sesame Street. So I decided to react to some of those voices today and basically do a little competition, even though it's not very, maybe not very child friendly, but do a little competition between the Sesame Street characters and see who is the best and worst singer.
I made a wish with all of my heart to take a rocket ship up to the moon. Well, I'm sad and I'm mad and I don't have a rocket, 'cause the wish that I wished did not come true. No, the wish that I wished did not come true.
Oh, okay. So that was Grover. Yeah, I need to clarify something here. Like, I'm gonna analyze usually the vocal quality and what the people are doing with their voices, but also the performance quality, and those are not the same thing. So here we have an example of Grover not singing so well, yeah? I mean, he has the growling, but that doesn't necessarily make it not good singing. It's just something that, because he's a monster, I guess he has to growl all the time. His voice in general is not so pleasant. And then he has those little breaks that also don't sound very good. But in general, the delivery of the song is really, really touching and expressive, and he's using those little all those vocal flaws, I suppose, to get a message and to express a certain feeling, which, by the way, is what the song is about. So that's nice. But yeah, all of things are of course on purpose, purposely made by the person who's doing his voice. I'm not saying that the person who's doing his voice cannot sing well, but I'm just saying that this is basically what we get. We get a singing that is very flawed, that is not so technically brilliant. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I still really love Grover, and he's a good performer. Yeah. We'll see more examples of that as we go on.
Bert, that was not bad for a first time, Bert, but we need more feeling, Bert. He's a very sensitive little duck.
Rubber ducky, joy of joys. Mm-hmm. When I squeeze you, you make noise. Mm-hmm. Rubber ducky, you're my very best friend, it's true.
Okay, Bert, now really let her rip.
Rubber ducky, you're so fine.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm glad that you are mine.
Yes.
Rubber ducky, I'm awfully fond of you.
Okay, Bert, now give us a
stand
finish.
Back.
Come on, Bert.
Rubber ducky,
yeah.
Sorry. That's hilarious. It just, okay, let's
so
just
fine, you fur, and I'm lucky that you're mine.
Oh, yeah.
Rubber ducky, I'm like a whole pond of rubber ducky. I'm awfully fond.
Bring it home, Bert.
Of you.
That's great. Okay, so Bert rocks. Yeah, well, his voice is not terrible. He could work on it. He could make it like richer, rounder, whatever, more pleasant. But this is not what we get here. We get a very sort of like flat-toned, straight-toned, if you will. I don't know, really like to use the word tone, but I don't really know what else to call it. Just the quality of the voice is simple. And then, like, the more enthusiastic he gets, the more he sings out of tune, the more we hear pressure in his voice, which again is a part of the show. So nothing wrong with that. But in terms of singing, it's not the best. Especially when he goes, when he goes to the high notes, he gets like, really a little bit strained in the throat, so you can hear that, and that affects the pitch as well. It was fun to watch. So that's what I like, I guess, about Sesame Street, that they don't really compromise on quality. Yeah, they get the best actors. And those actors, they can sing. Like, I bet all of those actors / singers, whatever they are, the performers that dub those puppets, they are like top-notch professionals. They can do a lot of things with their voices, and this is what we get here, is a result that is very much intended. Okay, let's move on.
Bert!
Let me say one thing about this. Is Rosita. I want to say one thing about her little solo in the beginning, then we'll rehear the rest. She has a sweet color to her voice. It's not, it's not ugly or anything. It's a little bit squeaky. Also, of course, that makes sense. And then when she went to the lower notes, she didn't have a lot of space in her instrument. Didn't sound like it. And that's when we got a little bit of rasp that did not sound intentional. So it just sounded like pressure to me. So I didn't like that so much. That's why she's relatively low on the list of singers. But we will hear later that she's quite musical after all. Let's see. Yeah, that's really cute. So she has this really nice and angelic voice, and then when she wants to stand out a little bit, then she makes it a little bit more squeaky, and then it's a little bit louder. But yeah, that's basically what happened here. So she was singing really angelically, like a little choir girl. Then she switched a little bit more to the squeakiness, and then it was just a little bit more like higher in volume. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. That's really nice. So yeah, I mean, not bad for a little girl monster. I don't have much to say about that. It's just very minimal, like the basics, basically, that one should do when they're singing in this kind of character, I suppose. Yeah, it's cute, nothing more. And you see that she can harmonize nicely. I mean, she was not the one doing the second voice, but still, it shows good musicality. So.
Yes, I love trash. If you really want to see something trashy, look at this. I have here a sneaker that's tattered and worn. It's all full of holes and the laces are torn. A gift from my mother the day I was born. I love it because it's trash.
Oh, nice. So the Grouch, obviously a monster, obviously grouchy, so he needs to... I can't even do it properly, the growl thing. I don't do it properly, so I won't even try. But he does that all the time. That's his default voice. However, it doesn't sound strained at all. So that's a good thing. He sings pretty much properly. Yeah, he sings in tune. You hear some kind of vocal quality in addition to the growl, having fun with it, and again, it's adequate. It's not anything spectacular, but it's pretty good.
Oh, I love trash.
But it's also very clear when he goes, this is a song that is not like the simplest song because it has a lot of jumps in it, but you don't hear any effort in his voice when he goes from a higher to a lower note. So that shows also that he's not a bad singer. So we're getting somewhere here. Let's hear Zoe.
Hi! My name is Zoe, and I'm proud. And what I'm proud about, I'm gonna tell you right out loud. I can spell my name. I know all the letters by heart. I bet you didn't know that Zoe Monster is so smart.
Okay, really cool. So again, like vocal quality, there is nothing spectacular here, but it's what she's singing here is not easy to sing. Yeah, especially not if you're a beginner singer. So here it's an indicator that this is not a beginner or an amateur singing. There is a straight tone there, and it's very, very squeaky. That, of course, is very compatible with the character. So that's to be expected, and that's great. So sometimes there is just a little bit more pressure, but it's really very, very minimal, especially when she does, when she sings a long note. I think that's on purpose because she is, she's just being funny. But it doesn't, like in general, it doesn't sound pressured at all or forced at all. And it's a relatively complicated melody. She sings it perfectly. So, yeah, great.
The first one is my favorite. It's a zig and zaggy Z. Looks kinda like a lightning bolt. A Z that stands for me.
I recommend you try, by the way, as an exercise. Try to sing like this. Yeah? So it's very simple. She is not lingering on any of the notes. She just goes through it. She has a really good flow, and she just has a really, really large twang, I guess, like the squeakiness. I talk about that in Learn from the Best, and it's just a really good vocal tool, and every good singer has that, at least a little bit. So if you practice like this, I just wonder what will come out. Let's move on.
A wise old bird once told me, and I believe it's true. He said the world's full of different birds with different points of view. But sometimes there's a job so big, if we want to get it done, we've got to bring those birds together and all work as one. When you make me...
Okay, before I move on here, this is just an example of Big Bird singing a solo. So... Again, there is a lot of twang here in the voice, a little bit less than Zoe. Yeah, so when I hear it side by side, I always thought that Big Bird, he really has like a squeaky voice. But compared to Zoe, it's kind of soft. It's softened relatively. So I hear some kind of gentleness and softness to the voice, a little bit of even a little bit of a head voice. But it's mostly, squeaky. And it's very much in tune. It's very musical. And it's just nice. Yeah. What I like about Big Bird, and the reason why I chose to put him higher on the list, is his musicality. Because he can harmonize almost like no one else in this show. And we'll hear that right now. Yeah.
Mistakes.
Just know that's what it takes to learn to do what you want to do.
I want to say hello, you friendly smiling face, take all we've got to give.
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard that. You should replay it if you didn't. The second voice that he gave Norah Jones here is hard. Yeah, it's not the conventional second voice that someone would choose to do. I don't know who wrote it. I'm not saying he wrote it himself. I'm just saying performing this is a high level. It's high level of musicality. So I appreciate that. Moving on.
Happy, happy, happy birthday! We love showing up, watching you growing up. Hooray!
made me love today more than breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You big and strong, you getting so much bigger.
So that note is the reason why Cookie Monster made it to, to this place in the list, because just before he did that, basically there was almost no voice coming out there. It was mostly growling, and the notes were not really clear in the beginning. But yeah, whatever. It's a part of the energy thing that he just goes through it. He didn't really care if he hits the notes or not. But then he went, "You're getting so much bigger," and suddenly there is this under level, or under dimension of a voice coming out at the same time with a growl that is like really nice. And maybe we could just listen to it again, because I think it's super cool. It just earned him that place. Hold on.
Because you made me love today more than breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You big and strong, you getting so much bigger. Oh, all the fun things we can do. Maybe you eat something sweet. Oh, this me favorite part. Cookie. Hey, chocolate chippy, fudge, fudgy dippy. Let the party start.
Yeah, that was basically it. He won me over with this specific note. All the rest was not so impressive, I grant you. But I still think it's kind of impressive that he can have this quality of voice that is not so good and still get everything sort of right. Sort of. But anyway, I really like that part.
In old Transylvania, when I was a lad, our castle was cold, yet we never were sad. We learned to be happy, we danced round the hall, and learning to count was the key to it all.
So, you might wonder, maybe, why is the Count so high on the list? He's number 4. And yeah, I wonder that myself when I listen to this, but just you wait. Basically, one of the criteria that I worked with to decide, took me a very long time, to decide who's getting ranked how, is basically what they can do with their voice, like what kind of manipulations they can do with their voice. So in this case, he has a lot of things going on, yeah, and they're all expressive. So he had sometimes just nice clean tones, sometimes he has a little break, sometimes he has a little rasp, and I'm not saying they're all like so that I like those so much. The point is what he can do with his voice, and also the potential. So in a minute we will see or hear rather the potential of his voice. So when I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, if I gave the Count some voice lessons, that could have, grown into something really nice.
By counting each count, I knew just where to start. And one special step stayed close to my heart.
Yeah, so you see, when he wants to, he sings really well. So that potential, that's what got me there. I was like, oh, you can do that. All right. Then I'm fine with everything else.
It was magic.
I was having a bad day. I stubbed my toe and I skinned my knee. A bad day. Thinking just how sad can one girl be.
Oh, okay. So that's like a piece of really nice singing here, in my opinion. Abby, again, has a really squeaky voice that's it's very appropriate. But everything else is just right. Like, the tune is right, the musicality is great, it's even a little bit pretty what she's doing. She has a nice vibrato. So basically, if you wanted to sound just like a normal person, all she would have to do is create a little bit more space in the instrument, a little bit more airflow, because that's eventually the difference between singing squeaky, that like a sound that sounds squeaky in your head but also sounds squeaky on the outside, or a sound that sounds squeaky in your head but on the outside is just a loud sound. And if I want to give you an example, I'm thinking about Abby's voice right now, but I'm not closing on the space. So you just get a clear, loud sound. Whereas if I do something here to restrict the space, then you get the squeakiness. See what I mean? So basically, yeah, the fact that it's doesn't make it not any less good, in my opinion. I think it's awesome.
Then all of a sudden, in no time flat, you came along and just like that, you gave me a hug and you dried my tear, and I watched that bad day disappear.
So that's really like nice and groovy. I like that. Yeah, she could really sing in style.
Rubber ducky, it is a connection. It doesn't have to be a tubby session, yeah. Take my day from 0 to 11, yeah. Bo-do-de-o, you are.
Oh no, not this.
They all make me go, oh, because they're so cute. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, so again, there was like a little modification to the voice with Ernie. It's the same principle as what Kermit the Frog does. So just a little bit of tongue going there and manipulating the space, manipulating the vibrations, the resonances rather, sorry. So that's something that just characterizes Ernie's voice. And then with that voice, he sings, I think, really well. Yeah? It's just a sweet, pretty, very controlled melody. Let's hear a little bit more.
Song again.
With me on the street every day, speaking in your own special way. That sound I want.
That reverb. I don't think that's necessary. His voice is really nice without it as well. But I think they want to dramatize it.
Hear it squeaky, squeaky.
Hey, Bert, what sound does a duck make?
It goes quack, actually.
I will make a wish on a star,
And I'll wish I was home once again.
So here we're gonna hear an example of Ernie harmonizing, which is was also one of my criteria. You know how musical the characters are.
though I like to look down at the earth
From above,
I would miss all the places and people
I love.
Although I may go, I'll be coming home soon.
'Cause I don't want to live on the moon.
So sometimes they were singing in 2 voices and he was doubling one of them, and sometimes they were singing in 3 voices. So that was super pretty in my opinion. Yes, very nice, very nice. Let's just hear the end of it.
Oh, I don't want to live on the moon.
Yeah, Ernie. He's a sweetheart. He has a sweetheart voice, and he sings like a sweetheart, and he performs like a sweetheart. It's just fantastic. So, number 1, you guessed it, it's Elmo.
X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
ABCs, ABCs.
ABCs. A, B, C.
So I think the reason she laughed was because she didn't see this little improvisation coming. That's my guess. Then she went, when he went, see, it's not easy to do with your voice. Yeah, that's what we call a melisma, or in pop music they would call it riffs. Yeah, so sometimes Elmo just throws everything to the wind and doesn't really take care what his voice will sound like. And then we get some shaky parts, like what we did just before. He had this one note that was shaky and it was not really in tune, but in general, he can do a lot of things, yeah? And he can improvise, he can harmonize very well, and he has this, also nice, sweet voice. So yeah, he's pretty versatile with his voice, and I really like that.
Elmo tried it, and Elmo really liked it. Elmo didn't like it at first, but then he went and tried it.
This is super cool, yeah? If you listen to the whole song, the other character is singing this melody before him, and it's a lot simpler. But then when Elmo does it, he goes so that's a really groovy and very much in style, very musical improvisation from Elmo's part.
And then he liked it, and Elmo promises that try again.
It's time to say goodnight.
Elmo doesn't wanna, Elmo isn't tired, Elmo wants to stay up. You don't have to worry, Elmo makes a promise, Elmo be okay.
But that's it. Yeah, so that's the only example that I could find of Elmo singing in a fuller voice, because usually he just has this, and sometimes he adds more air, like he has flaws too, yeah? But sometimes he has extra air and it's a little bit strained, and sometimes he's shaky and whatever. But here he gave an example, well, okay, I want to just open up my voice and sing with like a really nice vibrato, and he did it. It was a pretty good vibrato. It was not, those shaky, strained ones. It was pretty smooth. I thought it sounded very good. So that's why I chose Elmo for the first place, because he has basically all of the perks, yeah, and all of the advantages that singers should have. And even, with all the little criticisms that I can have here and there about, technically what he does with his voice, eventually, as I said before, it doesn't really matter if you sing imperfectly somewhere, or if it's here and there, you have this note that is a little bit less good than the rest. Because what matters when you are in front of a camera, when you're in front of an audience singing, is the entire performance. And that's why basically in this they're all winners. Yeah, but Elmo is the best, in my opinion. He really gives the show. He really goes, and takes style into consideration, and charisma to no end. And that's what's important about a performance. So this is it. This is my ranking of the Sesame Street characters in terms of singing and performing. And I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making this video, and enjoy your singing. Bye.